You have called on the United States to investigate and prosecute torture committed under former President George W. Bush. I want to play you the recent comments of President Bush talking about waterboarding. He was interviewed recently by NBC's Matt Lauer.
Why is waterboarding legal, in your opinion?
Because the lawyer said it was legal. He said it did not fall within the Anti-Torture Act. I'm not a lawyer, but you got to trust the judgment of people around you, and I do.
You say it's legal, and the lawyers told me.
Yeah. First of all, we use this technique on 3 people. Captured a lot of people and used it on 3. We gained valuable information to protect the country, and it was the right thing to do as far as I'm concerned.
So if it's legal, President Bush, then if an American is taken into custody in a foreign country, not necessarily a uniformed
Look,
American.
I'm not going to debate the issue, Matt.
I'm just asking, would it be okay for a foreign country to waterboard an American citizen?
All I ask is that people read the book, and they can reach the same conclusion if they'd have made the same decision I made or not.
You'd make the same decision again today?
Yeah, I would.
That was President Bush. Juan Mendez, you're the UN Special Rapporteur on torture. Your response?
Well, I think it's very disingenuous to rely on a memo that President Bush himself withdrew. You know, if he knew it was wrong on the law, he can't, you know, years later rely on it to say, well, I was told it was legal. And besides, quite frankly, if just by the description of what waterboarding tries to do, which is to create a sense of asphyxiation, it's not rocket science to know that that's torture, and that the memos notwithstanding, that's both illegal and immoral, and quite frankly, it violates a very clear standard that the United States is bound to. Now, I've been calling for the United States to live up to its obligation under the Torture Convention. The Torture Convention says very clearly that every case of torture has to be investigated, prosecuted, and punished as an international law obligation of the state. Unfortunately, despite the fact that we have leads like this, like the torture memos, like the revelations that Mr. Bush himself has made, I don't see enough, at least. I mean, obviously, I'm in conversations with the U.S. government, so I'm hoping that they will give me more chapter and verse about what it is that they're doing to live up to this obligation to investigate in good faith every single act of torture.
So you think President Bush should be investigated?
Well, I'm not saying who should be prosecuted or investigated. What I'm saying is that this is a significant lead that should lead investigators to pursue it to whatever consequences it takes them. I'm not in a position to say who's responsible for what criminal act.
Well, Juan Mendez, President Obama has resisted calls to investigate the torture of detainees under the Bush administration. This is what he said last year on CBS's Face the Nation.
I have said consistently that I want to look forward and not backward when it comes to some of the problems that occurred under the previous administration when it came to interrogations. I don't want witch hunts taking place.
Your response on this issue of looking forward instead of back and not allowing witch hunts to take place?
Well, this has been a debate all over the world. Every time we have to look at egregious conduct by state officials, people always say we want to look forward and not backwards. I reject the notion that investigating and prosecuting international crimes is a way of just looking backwards and being and engaging in a witch hunt or being vengeful. I think, on the contrary, it's a proper way of looking forward. It's settling the stories the way they should be settled, deciding on what was done by order of whom and against whom, and moving forward only after we know the whole truth. In the United States, there were at least some initial encouraging moves by Congress, especially to investigate some of the atrocious things that have happened in the war on terror. But unfortunately, in the last 2 years, we have seen very little in the way of those investigations. As I said, I am talking to the U.S. government, and I'm hoping to be given much more information about what is actually being done. But I want to stress that that's not a discretionary decision by any state. Every state that signs and ratifies the Convention Against Torture is legally obliged to investigate, prosecute, and punish every single act of torture.
Juan Mendez, we only have 30 seconds, but you speak from personal experience. I mean, you come from Argentina. In Argentina, there are hundreds of trials going on now of torturers. You yourself were tortured for representing political prisoners. That's right, in the 1970s?
That's correct, yes.
And
that's right. You know, and I am following the trials in Argentina, and they are, you know, very uplifting, and they are a way of looking forward. It's a way in which the country sees itself in a mirror, reckons with its past, and makes sure that it doesn't happen again. So that's a way of looking forward.
Juan Mendez, I want to thank you very much for being with us, UN Special Rapporteur on Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, and Degrading Treatment or Punishment. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. When we come back, Jacob Hacker of Yale University, his new book, Winner Take All Politics, How Washington Made the Rich Richer and Turned Its Back on the Middle Class.